皆さん、こんにちは。私のチャンネルへようこそ。Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I am joined by Jess, who is a lovely friend of mine. And whilst we're both British, we actually met when we lived together in Shimokitazawa. Jess, thank you for being on my channel today.
Thank you. Oh my God, I feel famous. This is great. This is real.
We're going to hear about Jess's story, and she is visiting Tokyo, but she is not a visitor to Japan. So in today's video, we're going to hear about Jess's story and hopefully some interesting comparisons between life in Japan and life in the UK.
I'll try.
Okay, so to start, could you tell us a bit about your background and your relationship with Japan?
Okay, I'll try and be succinct. I loved Japan and Japanese culture from a really early age, and I think the kind of first memory of Japan is that my dad, when we moved flat when I was about 7, and we didn't have that much like furniture or like interior decoration things, so my dad went to the Japanese store in like central London and bought loads and loads of Japanese sweets and bottles of like just basically convenience store items and filled our house with them, and that was kind of like what our decoration was. Wow. So for a brief period of time when I was about 7 or 8, my house looked like a convenience store, and from then onwards I was obsessed with Japanese design, whether it was like little cartoons or even, like, you know, just not so much anime, but just the sort of lovely packaging. And I'm, you know, since, you know, after living here and then coming back, the posters that you see on the underground, I think this design in Japan is beautiful, and I love that.
Yeah, okay. Also, I will say that Jess is an artist herself, so it must be, you know, really inspiring to like come and see all this like art, not just as art, but as just like a way of life.
Oh, it's the dream.
Yeah.
It was, you know, living in Japan is the most, such a cliche, was the most inspiring time. There is so much beauty in everything. I remember seeing like rubbish trucks that were painted pale pink with beautiful little cartoons on them and thinking, oh my God, there's so much beauty in a rubbish truck. And having to stop myself. Or I remember, you know, going to, you know, public bathrooms sometimes look like they'd be in England they'd be like in a hotel, but they're just, you know, in the random park here.
Totally.
And you're just overwhelmed by the kind of, the attention to design. So yeah, it's dreamy.
Yeah, that's such a good point. So in terms of your living situation, could you tell us about that? Like,
okay, so I lived in a lot of places. I came to Japan, I stayed in a lovely Airbnb in Ebis, so I got this really kind of, you know, bustling impression of like central Tokyo. I was like, this is amazing, I'm living my dream. And then was shipped straight out to a Leo Palace in Higashi Funabashi.
okay.
Which is like, there's not a lot going on there.
Okay.
And I moved out after a week because I was like, I think my friends are going to be tanukis at this point. So I moved a little bit further into a place called Nishikasai. Big up Nishikasai. If you've got any viewers from Nishikasai, I love it so much.
Okay.
It's such an amazing area. It has a huge Indian population, so there's loads of delicious food and the Holi festival, and a gorgeous park with these huge views of the city, but also looking into Chiba Disneyland, where every night at 7 o'clock there's fireworks. Wow. I'll fast forward a bit now. Then I moved, after a year there, and meeting the most amazing people in a share house, I was like, okay, I'm going to move a little bit further in. And I went all the way to the other side. So I moved here to Kichijoji, which was amazing. Lots of illustrators live here. So I was suddenly surrounded by lots of animators and illustrators and living my arty dream.
Yeah.
But my commute to work was 2 hours. Like, as in 2 hours to work, 2 hours back. It was yeah, again, we haven't spoken about this because it was a bit of a dark time. It was such a shame that I was, amazing friends, beautiful place, but it wasn't right. So I moved to Shimokitazawa, and that's where I met you.
Yes.
So that was my journey.
Lovely. How long did you live in Japan?
Just over 3 years.
3 years, okay.
Yes,
okay.
It felt like a long time at the time, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to come back and make up for it.
Yeah. Wow, okay, so you moved from the UK to Japan and stayed here for 3 years. Then you moved back to the UK. Why did you leave Japan?
So I really enjoyed teaching, which is what I was doing, English teacher, Eigo no sensei. But I decided I wanted to like train further in it, so I went back to do a PGC, which is the sort of degree that you need to be a teacher in the UK. So I went back to go to university really, so I miss Japan a lot.
I see. Okay. Did you have any culture shock going back to your own country after getting used to like Japan sort of thing?
It changes day by day, but there is a really lovely warmth to how free and loud the UK is.
Okay.
You know, it's just hearing people cackling with laughter or singing on the bus. The kind of almost like a soap opera drama that you just see in day-to-day life in the streets in the UK. There is no order, there is no one way to be. The only way to be is completely mad. Certain, like where I'm from in London, Holloway, it's all about the madness.
Okay.
So I really love that, and it's something I feel quite proud to be part of. Like it's also so multicultural as well. So these are the nice things. But then on the flip side, I miss the serenity of, like, Tokyo is this huge metropolitan city, but there are so many places of complete quiet and peace, and it's really hard to find that in London.
Right, yeah.
And also, I love London so much, but it's so damn dirty. It's so dirty.
Right, yeah.
It's a filthy place, but it's my filthy place.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it's home kind of thing.
Home.
Yeah.
It's filthy, but it's home.
And so now, what are you doing in Tokyo?
I am going to Sentos. I love Sento culture, something obviously that we don't have in the UK. In fact, there is one famous onsen in London, and it costs about £200 for 90 minutes.
What?
Yeah, so I mean, if you want to do onsen in London, it is only for the mega rich. So I really love taking advantage of that while I'm here. I think it's like a really peaceful, like mindful thing to do. Sento. I'm also eating everything that crosses my path.
Okay.
And seeing friends. And that is it. It's like, 5 days, Sento, eat, repeat.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what? Just 5 days? Like, why did you come all the way across the world?
Because in the UK, you have, like, when you work if you're a teacher in a school, you have every 6 weeks, you have 1 week off, which is an amazing thing. I think as a teacher, it keeps you sane. So I've got a 1 week holiday, and I was like, oh, have to do it, have to take advantage. And I miss Japan. I really miss Japan. I miss my friends here. And I'm here.
Yeah.
And also, obviously, to be on your channel.
Oh, well, yes. I mean, yes. It feels that way.
It's all for this.
Well, thank you. So what do you miss about Japan in daily life?
I miss the sounds on the train, like the jingles.
Yes.
I miss the little pots of plants outside homes, like when I was little pockets of green everywhere. I miss Sento. I think there's a calmness, and I felt it as soon as I came out of Canada, and just all the colour schemes of all of the flats. It was like beige and pink and pale colours. You just feel like you're kind of floating above the street almost. Like there's a peaceful quality that you just don't get anywhere else.
Totally.
And so I really miss that. You don't get much peace in state schools in London.
Yeah, no, sure.
That is not a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of the culture, I miss my friends. I miss Japanese food, naturally. So much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like you perhaps,
I sold myself to coming back.
Yeah, okay, lovely. Do you have any other points that you want to make about Japan?
I always want to say thank you to Japan. Thank you for the inspiration. Thank you for being so endlessly interesting and beautiful. Without meaning to say stereotypical things or brush with broad strokes. I don't know what the way to put it, but what I know of Japan, the little that I understand, and everyone I've met here, I've just absolutely loved.
Oh, that's lovely.
Also, one other thing I really love about Japan, the daily Yamazaki in Shindaita.
Specifically that one.
Specifically that one, the best konbini in the entire world.
Okay.
I love konbini. I miss konbinis. If you could mix that in and put that earlier on, just to make the whole thing called Jess loves konbinis. But especially daily Yamazaki, Shindaita is owned by the warmest, loveliest, kindest people. It's opposite the most gorgeous cafe, bar this one obviously, and that is my little slice of heaven.
So, is it the food in there? What is it about that particular shop you love so much?
It's the people that own it. They are so kind. They, when someone's spirit just sort of fills a place,
Totally.
you feel like their long lost grandkid the minute you walk in. And also it's kind of positioned. Shindaita is a really peaceful, pretty, bubbly area. And there's a place that you love, and I can't ever imagine it when it's been cloudy weather. I think every time I've ever sat there, there's been a beam of sunshine.
Wow.
I've sat it definitely hasn't, but in my brain it's like this. There's a beam of golden light over where the yellow sunshiny daily Yamazaki sign.
Okay.
And I'm just there, coffee in one hand, curry pan in another, loving life.
Oh, that's so
Talking to the owner in our sort of broken Japanese English way and just having the time of my life.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
that's
is.
so cute.
I recommend it. Yeah, that's my major osusume. Everyone go to Daily Yamazaki.
Go to that shop.
Spend all your money there.
Good. You've talked quite a lot about Tokyo, different places in Tokyo. Have you travelled around Japan?
Not nearly as much as I want, so I can keep on coming back here for life. But I went to Okinawa, which was obviously beautiful, the most gorgeous sea I've ever seen. I went to Nikko, Osaka, Hiroshima. I went to the beautiful little art islands, Naoshima.
Oh yes, yeah.
Which was, I mean, that was my number one dream before coming to Japan. Just to
Okay.
be in an island surrounded by art and like
Yeah.
the most incredible architecture. So that was amazing. Those are the key ones, the ones that really stood out.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's lovely. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you for being here, spending time on your precious 5 days. I think you've had some really beautiful points. Yeah. Thank you everybody for watching. Do leave your comments below. And until next time, Janet. Janet.